Before we dive more deeply into the question that's arisen, and that question is, what is life, existence, creation's relationship with us now? Perhaps it's necessary to do just a little recap of our inquiries of the last days. Now, inquiry was into trying to discover where are we and what is it that's present when our karma's been burned, our conditioning's been stripped, and our belief systems have been dropped. And out of that also was asked the question, what is our relationship with life now? But that put us on the horns of a dilemma, because when we think about it, when our karma's been burned and our conditioning's been stripped and our belief system's dropped, we're like an onion that's been peeled. And when an onion's been peeled, all that's left is the space. So we could ask ourselves, how does that space relate to the something that is the events and the experiences of life? Hence the turnaround of that question to now ask, what is life's relationship to us? What is the events of life and its experiences? How do they fit in or relate to the space where the onion has been? And so setting out with that question now, we endeavor to go deeper. And first there's a reminder of that old story about Mullah Nasruddin. You know, and that man who heard about Mullah Nasruddin, that he was a very great mystic. So he decided to make the long and arduous journey to visit Mullah Nasruddin, the mystic. But as it happened, Mullah Nasruddin was on retreat in a cave up in a high mountain in the winter time, so there was snow on the ground and it was very cold. So the man, after making his very arduous journey and finding his way up the mountain and arriving at Mullah Nasruddin's cave, Mullah Nasruddin greeted him and invited him in immediately and sat him down. And to give the man some courtesy, Mullah Nasruddin called his wife and asked her to bring out some bowls of hot soup for him and his visitor. So when the hot soup came into their hands, Mullah Nasruddin immediately brought it up to his lips and started to blow. And the man asked the mullah, "Mullah, what is this sacred ritual that you're undertaking here?" And the mullah said, "I'm blowing to cool my soup." And so they had an exchange for some while, and the bowl of soup was finished, and so they were sitting there, and all of a sudden Mullah Nasruddin takes up his hands and he starts to blow on and the man says, "Oh, Mullah, won't you tell me what great sacred ritual it is that you're undertaking now?" And the mullah said, "My hands are cold, so I'm blowing to make them warm." And the man immediately thought to himself, "I've come all this way to sit in front of a madman." So with as much courtesy as he could gather, he took his leave from Mullah Nasruddin, made his way down the mountain again, thinking to himself, "I came all this way just to sit in front of a madman who blows hot, and blows for hot and blows for cold." Now, Divine Mother used to very often say to everyone, you have to have discrimination, renunciation, and concentration. Discrimination between the real and the unreal. concentration on what is real and renunciation of that which is not real. So we can ask ourselves, where are we now? Is it this unchanging space that is real and the events of life unreal? Or the other way around? Are the events and experiences of life the real and the space the unreal? We have to look at our own experience for that. But then there's a story. There's a story of the great enlightened Zen master Cao Cao. And there was an occasion when the Emperor of China himself came to visit Cao Cao. But instead of pomp and ceremony and a consummate greeting for him, Cao Cao kept the emperor waiting outside and then finally admitted him into his own personal chamber where he was lying in bed. But the emperor, being somewhat of a humble bent and somewhat enlightened himself, rather than be affronted by this, he revered and respected the great Zen master even more than before. But the next day, the emperor sent an emissary to Cao Cao with an invitation that was to be presented to him. So Cao Cao left the emissary out in the reception chamber of the monastery, and after some while came out to accept the invitation that was to be given. Several days later, the emperor sent his general with a gift for Cao Cao, and the master Cao Cao left the general outside the monastery gate, and after some while came out to accept the gift that was brought. Now the disciples of Cao Cao were very concerned about this, so they posed the question to Cao Cao, why did you do that? Why did you greet our emperor in this way? And the emissary and the general, each in a different way. And Cao Cao responded, to the superior being, I will allow them in to my inner chamber and see the real me. An ordinary man I will meet in the reception hall and give common courtesies. The inferior man I will leave and see outside the gate. Looking at life, experiencing life now in this place where for the most part the onion has been peeled and we stand in the space that remains with qualities, no expectations, no need to do good, no judgments, no desires, just a space. Life's events occur, each unique, complete, but transient, moving in and out like pictures on a screen. As we experience this, and now endeavor to answer the question, what is life's relationship to us now? What does this story tell us about this? What are these laws that come into play when we're in a place where we know the difference between the real and the unreal? We can discriminate between them and concentrate on what is real. What's the meaning of this story for us now? As we experience these laws, completely the opposite to when we were something, an entity, a being, entering in to the events of life. Does this story relate to us? With a superior being, I show them my real face. With ordinary man, I give courtesies. To the inferior man, I meet them at the gate.
Kind of like whoever is before us, we know what to do, what to say, who they are, or it's a feeling that we get to how our response is to them.
Absolutely.
Just a reflection of the moment.
To be in the world but not of the world.